Right, nursery, we've got a very special visitor today in our nursery. This is Vicky Lachlan, and she's come to watch us. So can we all say, good morning?
Good morning! Good morning!
Today we're going to do some filming using our Genie Visualiser. So we're going to have some of you in a group and we're going to make a story up. Right. Look, I can see you on the big screen now. How about that? Can you see you? So, if I point that at us, and then I can get the remote out so I can zoom in so you can see a bit more closely. I'll just need to move it up a bit to look at you. There we go. Can you see yourself, Cecilia? Yeah, are you ready? So tell me when to take pictures then, Corinne.
I'm ready.
Yeah? Can you see the little camera up here?
Yeah.
Yeah, that will help me take a picture of the children when they're doing their acting in the cafe. So, are you ready then?
Yeah.
Can you see the children on there?
Yeah.
Tell me when to take a picture then. Picture. That's taken one. Corinne.
So, tell me
I
first
saw
of
you
all
on there.
how
Just
you
enjoy
have
to come round
found
this
working
side
with
and
the nursery age
Mm-hmm.
using the Genie Visualiser.
Well, they've found the Genie Visualiser very stunning. When they see themselves on the screen, they're amazed at it. It's like when you're at a football match and an adult sees themselves on the screen and they're waving to it. They're exactly the same, but multiply that by how a child gets excited by everything new. So,
And I was fascinated while I was watching the session that you were doing, you know, because you can use the visualiser and it went from colour, live, to black and white, live. And it was like you just turned their world upside down.
It is, yeah. They just expect them to see themselves exactly the same as they'd see each other, but when you can change things by flipping them around so all their actions are reversed and putting them in black and white, things like that. They just get really excited by it. So.
And how do you use the Genie Visualiser in planning classes like that?
Well, we've just had a think about how we can use it to record as evidence for their profiles, and that's also arranging it for stories. We can, if we take photos like we were in that session, we can put it together and they can be a part of the sequencing together as well, sequencing stories together. So they get involved as much as possible, really. What happened when there was no food?
Go shopping.
Who went shopping?
Me.
You did. So
I went
Cecilia
shopping.
needs to go shopping.
So how have you found using the Genie Visualiser for things like collating results, preparing information for Ofsted?
Well, we can look back at our videos and see what we've recorded of them, and looking at where that would cover, what sort of targets it would meet, what sort of objectives. We can just tick them off, and that's evidence there on the computer if Ofsted want to see how we came to that decision.
Now, you've been teaching for a couple of years. How have you found using the visualiser in sort of preparing your lessons and helping you in the transition, really, between theory and practice?
I wasn't trained in early years, so it was an all new experience anyway. So I was really finding my feet quite a lot and finding ways to get things like evidence for filling in their profiles. So having the Genie Visualiser to record the pupils in action and using that as evidence has really helped me.
And as well, you know, using the Genie Visualiser, I noticed that you were quite confident and happy to walk around the room with the remote.
Yes, because you can access it from all over the room, really. Most of the functions come off the remote. So being able to move to where a child is and keep their eyes focused on the screen, they can see what you're doing while you're near them, even though you're not right next to the Genie Visualiser.
And again, that gives you a lot more capabilities
and freedom.
Yes.
So, yeah, being able to just go where the children go. And I think that's an important thing, especially in the early years environment. You're going along with what the children are doing. The session this morning that we did, it was planned, but because they're so unpredictable, you can't plan everything. So a lot of what you're doing is from them. A lot of their decisions come through, and that's what we were trying to capture.
Yeah, and that works so well, like you say, because the children, the pupils might take you on a whole different area.
To what I originally planned, yeah. Well, we were originally deciding to do this cafe role play, and then it looked like it turned into a cookery programme, so it was definitely based on what they wanted.
And again, you were able to use the Visualiser to get the children actively involved in things like colours, counting, identifying, imagination.
That's it, and they could also see all that in front of them, so they're able to use their counting experience and things like that and see for themselves what they were up to.
Without feeling as though they are, you know, being taught.
That's it. Yeah.
So how would you sort of say that the Genie Visualiser, since you've been working with nursery, has really enhanced the whole experience for you as a teacher and also for your pupils?
Well, it's great because the pupils love to see it in action. If we've got a storybook, it's not always possible to get a big book of every story. So if you're after a particular story to go with your topic, your theme, you can find any story and use that to put it up on the big screen, and then they're not saying things like, I can't see the story, so you're saving a lot of time there, and being able to see this story on the big screen is just more exciting for them, and you can make it quite interactive with using the whiteboard's own functions, so using the pens and things.
So Dan, we saw everything being taken today, you know, the pupils taking their own shots.
Yeah.
What happens next?
Well, because the Genie Visualiser works so well with the computer's own software, we can take the pictures that we've taken on the Genie Visualiser and put them into other software, and we're going to be using a piece of software where we can make a story out of the photographs, sequence them together and add a voiceover and text over the top, so it's going to be their own interactive storybook then, made by them. So if we use their voiceover, it's entirely their work then.
And then what would you do with that end product? Do you save it?
Yeah, we'll save that and then we can show it back to them. They can see what they've done. We can show it to other groups, maybe through an assembly. So show off their own work, really.
Who thinks they know who that is? Just looking at the eyes. Lots of hands up. Sanjeev. Miley Cyrus, you think it is? Should we have a look? Who thought Miley Cyrus? Put your hand up. Okay, let's have a look.
Yeah.
Well done. If you thought Miley Cyrus, you get 1 point. Okay, put your book on the Visualiser. Okay, and you get to see the picture that was taken of Dominic and his drawing. And can you see the different features that he's used? Looks really good, doesn't it?
Yeah.
What I could do, I can zoom in. So if I zoom in on this picture, just minimise a little bit more. And if I split the screen, okay, you've got Dominic one side, and then Dominic the other side, look. So if I minimise a little bit more,
That's cool.
okay, can you see? Tell me all the good things about that. The good things about what Dominic is drawing there, his portrait. Tyra.
The eyes.
The eyes, yeah, the eyes are a really good one, a really good feature. So if you look at the eyes, he's drawn them, and the distance away from the eyes are the same. He could add eyelashes, so he can actually draw, and I'll get a pencil, you can start to draw. I'm just going to draw a few eyelashes on. Can you see? Yeah? What colour eyes has Dominic got?
Green.
Or if you look closely, what colour? Do you want to have a look to see what colour his eyes on the lens? Yeah. Right, Dominic, can you stand up? Okay. If you face and you kneel down a little bit, okay? And if I zoom in, right, you won't be able to see the board. Look straight at it. What colour are his eyes?
Green.
Yeah, a green colour, so we can see what colour his eyes are, can't we? So, Dominic, you need to colour your eyes in green, okay? Go and sit down.
No.
Very good. Was that fun? Yeah.
I like
Okay. What colour are your hair? Black. So you could use a black for your hair. Or brown, couldn't you? Yeah.
I've noticed that learning seems to become fun when you use the Genie Visualiser. Do you think that's a benefit to the pupils?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the Visualiser, it's just something new that's added to the lesson. And, you know, whenever something's on the board and they get a chance to put things under there, it's quite exciting for them because they get more involved in the lesson. If I mirror and then match it up, let's see if it'll work.
She's half now.
Can you see, look, what's different about the hair? And then when it's displayed on the board, they get a chance to just encourage each other and just assess, you know, the good points and what needs improving. For example, in the drawing, we were looking, we stopped it part of the way through, and we said, and we had a split screen, and we said, okay, that's what the picture looks like, and this is what it's progressing like. What are the good points about it now? How is it improved? And I think that's a good way just to, you know, encourage other people, just to other pupils, just to see what they need to do and how they need to get there. I think it's good.
So the Genie Visualiser, is it something that you've found you've really sort of taken on board as a major teaching tool?
Well, definitely. I mean, we have it out in lessons, and you know, if you've got it out in each lesson, you're just tempted to use it. But I mean, I can use it in lots of different lessons. I mean, for example, we use it for science recently, and we went out and we looked at lots of different, you know, different colours of the leaves, and got the children to collect the leaves, and then we got to bring it back. And of course, if they want to look closely in depth in the leaves, you can zoom in, zoom out on the Visualiser. So you get the children to come up, put the leaves underneath, and then you know, look and just discuss what they've collected. So that was one good example that we did.
Have you found that it's actually been a tool that's helped you with your prep, and again with sort of getting feedback and moving on in your lesson plans? With
the Visualiser, when you're planning, it's just instead of preparing, photocopying and things like that, which takes 30 minutes to 2 hours worth of work. With a Visualiser, if you find something useful at home, a magazine or a book or a picture, you can just put it under 1 minute job, and then children can just discuss on the board, and they love it. And it's really good for assessment when they're just assessing what's going on in that picture, you know, what's happening next, what do you think is going to happen next, you know, things like that.
Does it help you, as you say, when you really sort of pull in all the pupils' different viewpoints, does it help you as a teacher sort of start to assess where each pupil is in their understanding of what you're teaching them?
Well, yeah. Well, while they're looking at the board, you can just see them you know, the ones that are engaged and the ones that are really thinking about what's going on, and then the ones that actually answer to, you know, the questions. You can really just tell overall assessment what's going on.
And I suppose that helps you then sort of know whether or not there's areas you've got to go over again, or that the class has got it.
Well, yeah, I mean, with that, you can redo the lesson again, or redo it in the plenary. You can always, well, they didn't understand that, but maybe if I go over it another time, I can just put it under. It won't take too long. It's not. I don't have to go over it or just flick through all the different slides and things. It's just stick it under the Visualiser and it's done.
Have you found it something that you can really just come into the classroom and get going with?
Well, to start off, to set up the Visualiser, I mean, I'm probably not the most technical person, but with anything you need practice. And, you know, after a little bit of practice on the Visualiser, it was easy to set up, you know, a few leads from the Visualiser into the laptop into the smartboard, and then it's just a click of a button. So you can click the button, Visualiser, click another button, and then you've got the laptop. But then you can also have the Visualiser on the laptop as well, can't you? And then you can just start using different functions. So, you know, just have a little play around with it, and then you can just get lots of different ideas to help you during the lesson.
And so you've actually found it a very simple tool to use in a daily
session.
Session.
I mean, once it's out, I mean, during the day, you can just quickly say, oh, well, that's good. You know, that piece of work's good. That drawing's good. Like in the lesson, you know, that's a good drawing. So you can stop the lesson during. You can assess easily during. Put their work under, or get them to put their work under, and say, well, look at this. Look at the progress of this child's work, and it's really good for assessment at the beginning, during and at the end as well. You can just come in whenever, and it's quite easy just to put something under, zoom in, zoom out. It's quite easy, quite fast to use, it's good.
Go on then, you choose 2 red. And then can you choose 3 of another colour? So you've got to get the same, because it's got to be symmetrical. So you've got to have 2 red. Go and get 2 red. And how many yellow have you got, Jess? 3. So 3 yellows then. Oh. Okay. Right. When you put one down, Jessica's going to put one so it's the same, so it's symmetrical. Well done. So off you go then. Put one down. Make sure it's in the square properly. Okay. Now, do you want to take a photo, Chelsea? Just come and all you've got to do is press this button and it will take a photo. You come and do it. Okay? Well, you've just took a photo of that and it's up there, look. Okay? So now you put the next one down so it's symmetrical, Jess. Well done. Do you want to come and take a photo? Come on then. Watch, you don't knock it, darling. Right, you've got to press that button there and it will take a photo. So press that one for me. Yeah. And there it is up there, look. Go back round then. Go on then. Chelsea. Well done. What have you got to do? Can you see where that is? That's got to go all the way down to there. Go on then. Well done. Right, so now we're going to see if we can watch it. Okay, so if you come round here. Can you see that's when you put them in? That's very clever, isn't it? Do you think that's clever? All those pictures that you've taken have now made a film. Who else made a film? No, it was Jessica and Chelsea. Was it a vertical line of symmetry or a horizontal line of symmetry?
Horizontal.
Pardon?
No. Vertical.
Vertical. Well done. Shall we give Chelsea and Jessica a clap?
Bryony, first of all, tell me something about the range of children you work with and the key stage that you work with.
Okay, I work in Key Stage 1 and I teach Year 1s and Year 2s. I've got 13 Year 2s and the rest are Year 1s.
So run through some of the ways that you use the Genie Visualiser.
I use it a lot in introductions because you're able to show more on the Visualiser than you would obviously if you've got something holding something up. And the children respond well to the Visualiser. I use it in the introductions and I also use it for plenaries. When they've done their work, I usually show their work. If they've worked really hard, I'll choose them or their work to put under the Visualiser and then share it with the rest of the class.
Because that was the interesting thing I was watching, that the children took a real pride and it boosted their confidence to see their work being displayed in that way.
It does, yes. And also the other children will make comments about their work as well, which appears to raise standards, because if another child has noticed that they've put a full stop in the wrong place, or they haven't used a capital letter or something like that, although to the child it's a good piece of work, from it to come to me and say, if I say to them, oh, what about capital letter and a full stop here, it sort of demoralises them a bit, whereas if a child says, oh, perhaps you could have used it's different for them and they take that on board, rather than if I say it demoralises them a bit.
So it gives them a little bit of sort of peer coordination as well?
It does, yes. Yeah, and they work together. They do work together in pairs or groups to talk about the work that they see on the board, and we think about 3 things that we can do to improve the work, or 3 things that they like about the work. Obviously, if it's a good piece of work, we say, find 3 things that you like about the work. It might be using wow words or capital letters and full stops. So it boosts their confidence.
Bryony, you've been teaching now for over 10 years. You must have seen a lot of changes. And how has sort of preparing your class, delivering your class, changed using the Genie Visualiser than if you'd have tried to do this sort of 7 years ago?
With the Visualiser, it helps focus the children, and you can just, whereas I'd probably have hand-drawn a picture and written their words on that they needed, you've got it all in an instant. You can just put it under the Visualiser, print it off on the laptop, from the laptop, put it under the Visualiser, and you've got it there in an instant. Even if you need a book, if you're reading a story, you can put that under the Visualiser and you've got it there in an instant. Because it cuts down on resources really, because if you've just got the one book, you've got it there and all the class can see it. Whereas before you might have had to have 6 children around one book and you give like 3 groups out. It's all there on the board.
How's it helped you with prepping and with marking and everything you have to do for Ofsted? How's it helped with that?
It cuts down on your time because you're not photocopying worksheets or things like that. You can use a split screen on the Visualiser. So say if you've got 2 groups but they're doing different things, you can put their work, put one piece of work under the Visualiser, split the screen and then put the other piece of work under there. So you've got 2 groups that are there, can look at the board and see their work, whereas before I'd have pieces of paper hanging up all over the walls with the blue tack. But now it's there at an instant.
And how do you think it helps the pupils? How do you think it enhances their learning experience?
I think as soon as they see that we're using the Visualiser or anything like that, they're more focused, they're there with you, and their concentration lasts longer because it's something different for them. And then if you can get the children to explain what they've done as well using it, then it teaches the other children as well.
Because it was interesting to note that during your session you would teach them how to use computer skills as well, so there's a whole different set of skills rather than just sort of literacy and numeracy.
That's right. It allows children who wouldn't really or necessarily have access to computers or technology at home, and also, well, we've got to develop their skills, so I usually choose those to teach others how to use it as well. So once they've been shown what to do, they can go and show other children.
And when it comes to assessing pupils, marking them, how have you found it's helped in that area?
Because you obviously save their work or animation or whatever it is you're doing. You can always, it's always there. You can relate to it and pull it up at any time you need to. If you need evidence for certain areas or certain levels, then you can just pull it up and you've got it there.
Now, obviously, you use the Genie Visualiser in a lot of different ways, but can you think of one sort of area that you've used it in that's been really beneficial?
They've really enjoyed looking at maps. We were looking at maps of the world and where places were, and we were talking about Great Britain last week, and I said, who's been to Wales, who's been to Scotland? Some people put their hand up, and I said, who's been to England? Well, some of them didn't even put their hand up, so I had to explain that actually we're in England now, and just to focus on England and then zoom out so they could see the whole world, because somebody said that they lived in Africa, and I could actually show them on the map that was under the Visualiser that Africa was actually over here and this is where they are. It was just so they got a concept of where places were in the world. I thought that was probably, most beneficial really from that point of view.
What I've got underneath our Visualiser today is an animal. And all I need you to do, first of all, is to type in the name of the animal and then press send, okay? So here it is. And we can see all the responses so far have the right answer with frog, so well done everybody. I'm going to ask you a question which I'd like you to answer using your text. The question is, how has that animal, the frog, adapted to the habitat that it lives in? It might be to do with its body, how it's changed its body. Remember, if you make a mistake, you can just delete and text in again. Lots of responses coming in. Lots saying webbed feet. One at the moment saying camouflage. One saying skin. Most of you went for feet, webbed feet. Who's number 15? Angela, can you explain how that animal's adapted to its habitat, what your answer is?
It helps it swim.
Okay, so by having webbed feet, it helps the frog swim in its habitat. What is its habitat, Ghazala?
Living in the pond.
Living in a pond, a river, water or around water. Hina has put green, which would come under our camouflage. So it's camouflage to protect itself from predators, and also it's got webbed feet to help it swim. Okay, well done. Right, now for the final part of our lesson, we have a little quiz to see how much we've learned throughout this topic. It's a simple 6-question quiz, all to do with birds, okay, and how they've adapted to the habitat that they live in. Right, so question 1. This is a true or false question. As soon as you see it, you can text in the answer. All birds can fly. All birds can fly. See, most of the answers are already in. Look, you can see your number at the bottom if you've sent it in. And 16 of you said false, and you were all correct, so well done. Put this food chain in order, starting from the bottom upwards. We've got A would be the mole, C would be the worm, B, dead leaves, and D, owl. Few more seconds. And I'm going to stop it there. B, dead leaves, is at the bottom. And then we have the worms, followed by the mole and the owl. So B, C, A, D was the correct answer, and over half of you got that, so well done. And let's have a look at our leaderboard. Which fire engine will get to the fire first and is the winner of our quiz today? I do believe it's tank number 18. Well done, Jasmine Ram. With 25 in second place. Who's 25? Well done, Corandeep. And 12 in third. Number 12, well done, Sergeant. Very well done to you all.
Luke, it's interesting to see that you combined using the Genie Visualiser with the Genie Pad response system in your lesson. How do you find they work together?
Well, with something like the science lesson we've just done, it helped to show different objects, such as the bird's beaks that we saw, and you could zoom in on the bird beaks. And then with the Genie Pads, you could, through a system called text and drop, you could text in an answer and ask a question about the beak, and they could text in either a one-word answer or a sentence in, and it appears on the screen. So you've got the Visualiser producing the picture, and then the Genie Pads giving the children the answer, writing the answer on, and then you can drag the answer onto the page with the image, and then you can group the different sentences together and look at the correct answers, the wrong answers, and discuss which ones we think are right and which ones we think are wrong.
Have you found it a great way of, again, instead of it just being you and the pupils, you become a team who are working together?
Yeah, it's very much the children are taking control of their learning, really, and they can see instantly whether they're right or wrong. And they know all throughout the lesson with the Genie response system that what they're doing is right, whether they're on task, whether they need to change something. So they know what they're doing.
And I presume it also helps you, because you can then, you have this information. What do you do with this information that you get, the responses that you get via the Genie Pad response system?
It depends how you've set it up, but with something like the text and drop, you can drag all the responses on and put them into lists. With other such things such as a PowerPoint survey or questionnaire where you're challenging the children to answer questions, then they can text in the answer and you've got instant feedback whether they're right or wrong. And the system calculates how many right answers, how many wrong answers they produce, and at the end of it you can get overall feedback through reports and other things, and you can print them off and you know exactly how well that child has done in the task.
Do you find that once you've got those responses, really it helps you plan and construct the next lesson?
Well, you can look back and see which type of questions or which area of the learning the children haven't grasped. There might be some part of the science where none of the children got the right answer or only a few. So for the next lesson, you know that you can focus on that part, maybe in the start of the lesson, and you can do some work on that because they didn't actually get it before.
What about the pupils? What do the pupils get out of it, do you think?
The pupils seem to really enjoy the Genie Pad system, and they are very, very motivated to do the lesson, regardless of their ability. They really enjoy working with them. I think they like the instant feedback, and they know for their own learning whether they're on task or not. And it becomes a bit of a game. At various times you can turn it into a game, and the children really like that.
Because again, you know, learning is fun, especially with, you know, pupils who maybe, like you say, don't always maybe feel confident to put their hand up in a class setting. Actually, this gives them the ability to get involved.
Well, for inclusion purposes, it's fantastic because every child gets to share their answer. Whereas without them, if you're asking children on the carpet to put their hand up, you might have 1 or 2 responses. With this, you can get a response from all the children, and the children don't necessarily see their response. You can actually keep it private so you can see their response, and then you can tell which children are on task and which aren't, and you could give the children with the wrong answers a little more support.
And that, I think, is a fantastic part of the system, because it does give children confidence that, you know, they're not going to be ridiculed or laughed at if they get a wrong answer. It just helps you.
It does, very much so. And the whole focus is on not to ridicule the child in any way. There is a system that you can get the children's name to come up, and that's okay in certain respects, but it's better if you've just got the handset number and the children know that their response has come in, and on the actual display on the handset it actually tells them whether they've got a right or a wrong answer. So even if they can't see on the screen whether they've got it right, on the Genie Pad itself it gives a little tick or cross to show them whether it's right or wrong.
So they can help motivate themselves.
Exactly,
really.
And they can think about getting the right answer next time.
Yeah.
And they always know there's another question coming.
How does it work with regard to literacy? You were talking about being able to text in words and sentences. I should imagine that's another key skill involved in using the pads.
Well, in literacy, the amount of things that you can do is endless, really. Just simple things like spelling tests. You could do spelling tests on there, up to unlimited amount of spellings, and you've got instant feedback. The children know straight away how many marks they've got, and you can print that off that day and give it to the children to take home to show their parents. You could use it through the Visualiser. You could show a picture and the children could text in some words relating to the picture, and you could create a thought shower around the picture and have lots of different feelings for the character in the story. So it's endless, really, for literacy.
So when you were, say, planning today's session on birds, how did you go about deciding what sort of system you were going to use?
Certainly not a tool that you'd use every lesson, but there's certain lessons which would lend itself to using the Visualiser, some to the Genie Pads, and then some, like you saw, using both at any one time. I find it's very good for, especially the Visualiser, for showing up close things, like you saw with the grubs, getting the grubs out of the wormholes. It was very good that I could model it at the front. The children could all see it on the big whiteboard. And that helped them understand the activity, so there weren't any issues with how to make the little paper beak. We've had the Visualiser for over a year, and I'm finding the more I use it, the more confident I get in using it. I tend to use it in at least one lesson a day, particularly in things like science, but also in English and maths as well. And it's all about getting confident with using the machine, and once, like anything, once you're into it and you've used it and confident using it, you'll use it on a daily basis.
Did you find it that difficult to pick up initially, using the sort of Genie pad response system?
It took 1 or 2 lessons both for myself to get used to it and also the children to get used to it, because it's something totally new. So the first 2 lessons with the children were them enjoying using the keypads, getting used to all the different responses, because it's just not texting, it's a true or false. You could type in sequences of numbers, yes or no answers. So it's getting the children used to using the Genie pads before you even attempt to do any sort of assessment with it.
But you would say that the pupils get a lot out of it. It obviously helps you as a teacher, cutting down, I should imagine, on prep time and feedback time.
Certainly with the feedback time, if you use it wisely enough, it cuts out with all the marking, and your assessments there already for you. And with certain things like the Visualiser and showing children what to do, the children can see it up close, so there's less questions from the children saying, how do I do this? Because they've seen it firsthand on the big screen.
So Luke, did you and do you find it easy to install the system and get it up and running?
To physically set up the machine, not a lot of time at all. It's just taking it out of its box, a couple of leads, and then the initial thing was getting the children to have their own handset. So they're all allocated a certain number with the handset, and each child knows which handset they are now, so they just take the handset and it's all set up. The other part is the PowerPoint setting up, which takes a little bit of time to get used to it, but once you've done it once or twice to actually set up the survey or the questionnaire for the children, it can take not very long at all, 5-10 minutes to complete that.
So once you've allocated a number to a pupil, then that number and that pupil are together, and all the information about how they're studying, I presume, is kept documented in one place for you to access.
That's right. Because the handset is allocated to, they've got the number but also their name allocated to that handset, that every bit of feedback from that handset goes to their name, and you can print off all the data for their name at the end of the school year or topic, and print that out for their use or for the parents or even for your records.